Welcome back to another episode of Wiltfong's Whiparound. It's Tuesday, July 26th. I'm joined by my producers here, Chris Belcher and Jason. We're going to get a mic on you, Chris, here soon. We're going to bring you on this show. We need your Kentucky charm and accent to be part of this broadcast, and we need your knowledge. And as always, appreciate Trey Scott and his creative influence that he brings to this show. A couple things happened notable this week already. Spanaway Lake out of Washington State, top 247 cornerback Josiah Wagner committed to Oklahoma as the Sooners have the nation's number 8 recruiting class. They finished number 10 a cycle ago, number 8 right now. So Brent Venables and that new Sooner staff recruiting as well as any first-year staff is at any program in the country. Wagner's a two-way standout. He's going to play in the All-America Bowl. A natural ball skills, smooth, fluid, rangy athlete that I think has a ton of upside for Oklahoma. Another big time prospect out west committed. And Berrien Kennedy Catholic 4-star offensive lineman Micah Banuelos. He chose USC over Oregon. There were times where I thought Oregon was the one to beat in that recruitment. And my colleague Brandon Huffman, who broke both of those stories, kept saying, not so fast, not so fast. Let's not rule out USC. The Trojans add Banuelos to what is the number 13 recruiting class in the country. Talking to some people about that, I think that he loved both Oregon and USC. USC, their future locked in the Big Ten. Another inch in that recruitment that helped USC. I think their future playing on that stage. But Banuelos, he joins a USC class, guys, that has arguably the top quarterback in the country, Malachi Nelson. They have two electric receivers. The number one receiver in the country, Zachariah Branch, another elite player at the position, Micaiah Lemon, who could also be a dynamic player in the secondary. I love these prolific running backs they have in Quentin Joyner and Marion Peterson from the Lone Star State. Quentin Joyner rushed for almost 2,500 yards last year. Marion Peterson almost 1,900. But getting a guy like Banuelos is really going to define what this program does. The USC, they recruited skill players just fine under the last regime. They always had good quarterback play. They had good play callers. I think it's a program that's lacked toughness up front. I think it's a program that's lacked an ass-kicking culture. Micah Banuelos is going to come in there and kick some ass. That's the kind of mentality that he's bringing to USC. He's a tough, physical, hard-nosed, gritty football player that likes to bang. And that was a really big get for USC and the best offensive lineman, in my opinion, to commit to USC since this new staff has arrived in LA. Big news of the week right now is obviously Caleb Downs. He's the number one safety in the top 247. My number one can't miss prospect in this 2023 cycle. He's going to announce his college decision on Wednesday. And I think it's down to Alabama and Ohio State, as I've been saying. He's still been communicating with Georgia, but I think that when he steps to the mic and announces his college decision at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday, which we will have coverage on CBS Sports HQ, I like, my prediction is on Alabama, but I'm not sleeping on Ohio State. Most of the people I talk to feel like Alabama is in the best spot to land Caleb. And I know that was a program, talking to Caleb for years throughout his process. He was one of the first players in this 2023 class to blow up nationally and become a legit blue chipper. Alabama's always been right there near the top. I do think that Ohio State has grabbed some momentum over the last few months, led by Perry Eliano and his charge on the trail. And his pedigree and what he just did in the NFL draft with who he developed out of Cincinnati, but Nick Saban's track record, and not only that, the track record of Alabama players in the NFL, being in that SEC. I like Alabama by a hair right now. Now we're recording this at 3:12 in the afternoon. Who knows when this goes live at 7 p.m. if the intel is going to change for Caleb Downs, and maybe I'll be saying Ohio State in 5 hours. Recruiting, as y'all know, as y'all follow it, anything can happen. But right now, my predictions on Alabama. That's where the majority of people I talk to think it's going to land. But Caleb's still talking to Alabama. He's still talking to Ohio State. Talked to Ohio State again last night for a long time. He's still talking to Georgia, and they're all conversations with all those programs are are in depth and thorough. And so, we'll see what happens when he steps to the mic. Josh Pate, y'all know him, Late Kick Show, pretty popular on various platforms, including this one. He hit me up recently and asked me which program was going to get hot soon on the trail. And this was a few weeks ago. And I said Bama. Bama was low in the standings, but I knew that some of their top targets were beginning to make decisions and come off the board. And here they are sitting at number 9. Caleb Downs is announcing tomorrow. We'll see if that goes Alabama's way. 3 more of their top targets are announcing their college decision in August. You have top 247 defensive lineman Hunter Osborne is going to do it on CBS Sports HQ on August 1st. You have 4-star offensive lineman Miles McVay, who's going to go on August 11th. And then you have top 247 defensive back Makari Vickers, who's going to go on August 26th. I could see all 3 of those guys in Alabama's class. And so I have Osborne predicted to Alabama, close to joining colleague Alan True in predicting McVay to Alabama. And then Makari Vickers, he's been to Tuscaloosa several times. And I just think that if Alabama's pushing there, that they'll be tough to beat for the number 6 safety in the 24/7 Sports Composite, number 8 at the position in the top 247. But you saw that list of targets that Alabama's in on. When you're thinking about who are the programs that are on the short list to finish number 1 in this class, who's going to have the number 1 recruiting class? We've seen Nick Saban do it 9 times already. He could do it a 10th time this cycle with the firepower that's still there on the board. And they're off and running in 2024. Chris and Jason just had a big commitment in the 2024 class as we started this broadcast. Jalen Mbakwe out of Clay Chalkville. He's one of the premier prospects in the 2024 cycle. We rank him number 8 nationally, regardless of position. Led his high school football team to a 15-0 state championship as a sophomore. He's got 10.4 speed in the 100-meter dash. He's also going to run track in college. He told me this morning at Alabama. But he's a guy that, as his assistant coach Zach Hart said, he can change the game in one play. He's a dynamic wideout. He's got elite traits at corner, and he certainly could be a factor in the return game. Major pickup for Alabama, and just again, kind of similar to Caleb Downs, the way that these guys are wired. Alabama, they win a lot of games because not only are they incredibly talented, but they're incredibly mentally tough with guys that are incredibly competitive. But Downs certainly fits that mold. Jalen Mbakwe embodies that as well. He just wanted to get his college decision out of the way so he could focus on his junior year. Fell in love with Alabama. Alabama keeping the elite number 1 prospect in state home, landing a big commitment from him. He's commit number 3 for them early in 2024. I think that they're in the top 10 now. With that commitment, Alabama is not the only program that's starting to get some momentum going here in 2024. Another program that's looking to make some big moves on the trail is Texas A&M. They're obviously coming off a cycle where they finished with the number 1 recruiting class in 24/7 sports history. It was an elite haul in 2022. 2023, it's been a little slower sledding for them as their top targets haven't been ready to make decisions at this point. The Aggies, they have the 6 commits right now, but I think that this weekend could be big for them. A guy that I think that they remain in great position for is the number 1 linebacker in the country, Anthony Hill. He's going to be back on campus in College Station this weekend. He's got a final 2 of Texas and Texas A&M. My 24/7 Sports crystal ball is on the Aggies, and I still feel good about that prediction. I think that Texas A&M, their defense, Coach Santucci, the relationship there, and the trajectory of the program, and coming in and playing behind what was an amazing defensive line class are all reasons why Texas A&M's in great position. And this is a recruitment that I think is winding down. I think we're in the final stretch for Anthony Hill and going into this weekend's visit to Texas A&M. I really like where the Aggies stand. The Aggies are battling Texas for another in-state linebacker, Darian Gillette. I think that Texas had some momentum coming out of a visit earlier this summer, but something tells me A&M's still right there, if not maybe even slightly ahead. Going into this weekend's visit for the pool party, and then 4-star offensive lineman TJ Shanahan My crystal ball is on the Aggies for him. Texas A&M just had one of their biggest recruiting wins of the cycle. They went up to New Jersey and landed the number 9 offensive tackle in the land, Chase Bisantis, excuse me, out of powerhouse Don Bosco Prep. Beat LSU, beat Michigan State for him, among others. A major recruiting win for the number 1 player in the state of New Jersey. And him and Shanahan would be a nice combination, along with Colton Thompson, another 4-star. To follow up what they brought in last year, this pool party that A&M's hosting also going to include their top 2 safety targets, Peyton Bowen and Dalton Brooks. I think that they could land both of them when all said and done. My crystal ball is on the Aggies for Brooks. Bowen's obviously committed to Notre Dame, but the Aggies are very much in the thick of it for both of them, and those are their top 2 safety targets. So Texas A&M, they're still just getting started early in this cycle. Kind of leads to this question that was asked in the Ask Wiltfong thread on the 24/7 Sport Blue Board, where you can find me. I check in there every couple days and answer questions that y'all have for me. And one of them asked, could 5-star running back, the number 1 player at the position, Reuben Owens, flip from Louisville? You know, I think he could. I'm not predicting that he's going to. I just think there's a long time from now until National Signing Day. He's committed to Louisville, and the program I'd be watching close there is Texas A&M. You know, and so that's, again, I'm not trying to fire up Louisville fans. And it was a Kentucky person that asked the question. I don't know if that was your burner account, Chris Belcher, being a Kentucky native and Wildcats guy, but and you're just trying to get the fires going there in Louisville. You know, but Louisville's done an excellent job recruiting him and everybody. But Texas A&M's a program that I thought was in terrific shape for Reuben Owens for much of his process, and so I'm not going to rule them out until he puts pen to paper late in the cycle. There's some elite quarterbacks here that are close to coming off the board, or some of the top guys at the position here as we head down the stretch. Austin Novosad is the number 8 ranked passer in the country, and he's committed to Baylor. He's been committed to Baylor since December out of Dripping Springs, Texas. But he's, as we've talked about him on the show week after week, you know, he's talking to other programs. He's at Notre Dame this week. Notre Dame's got the number 2 recruiting class in the country in 2023. They got the number 1 class in the country in 2024. It's a big recruiting day for the Irish. Austin was recently offered by Notre Dame a couple weeks ago, and every day he's been talking to someone from Notre Dame, whether it's Coach Freeman, Coach Reese, a professor. That relationship is building fast, so much so that he wants to get up to South Bend and check it out. I think ND needs to make a move on a couple schools, one of them being Ohio State. I think there was a time where he almost was close to flipping from Baylor to Ohio State. I think that's held off now. He's going to be at Baylor on Saturday. I still give Baylor the edge of keeping Novosad in the fold right now, but he's at Notre Dame today. He's going to be at Texas A&M on Friday. And so we'll see what happens with those visits to Notre Dame and A&M, and then getting back to Baylor on Saturday. Is he going to be ready to shut it down? I don't think he has to be. You know, this is one where he can take his time with it and see what happens as Notre Dame and Baylor and Texas A&M are kind of on his time. Another quarterback that's definitely close to making his college decision is Brock Glenn. Talked to him today. We also talked to him at the Elite 11 finals. At the Elite 11 finals, I said that I thought Florida State and Ohio State were in the best position. And over the last couple of weeks, I said that I thought Florida State was the one that is inched ahead in that recruitment. You know, Coach Norvell and his staff have such great ties to Memphis, have a great relationship with his high school coach, have an offense that he's excited about. They've done a terrific job recruiting him. No question, Florida State's a finalist. But Ohio State is right there for Brock Glenn. And I would not be surprised if he ends up being a part of Ohio State's class. Ohio State's sitting at number 1 in the 24/7 Sports recruiting rankings. They do not have a quarterback. They're all in on Brock Glenn as well. And I think that he is very, very intrigued about getting up to Ohio State, playing for Corey Dennis, playing for Ryan Day. If you're the starting quarterback for the Buckeyes, your chances of being a first-round draft pick under Ryan Day are 100%. He has not missed. And CJ Stroud looks to be up next. So I think that he is very excited about Ohio State as well. And with that, I have not crystal balled him to Florida State right now. I'm not saying those picks are wrong. There was a time where I thought that they were the clear one to beat. I think that Ohio State has at the very least made it very interesting for Brock Glenn coming down the home stretch for his recruitment. Caleb Downs isn't the only major commitment this week, guys. Florida is one program that you're really going to want to pay attention to here over this next week with several blue chip guys making their college decisions. And with Florida, I have 3 of their top targets crystal ball to the Gators right now. We're set to announce Aiden Mizell, who's a top 100 receiver per the 24/7 Sports Composite. And then Jakeem Jackson is a top 247 cornerback from Kissimmee, Osceola. And then West Orange safety Jordan Castell. I think that the Gators are the ones to beat for all 3 of those guys. They land them there in the top 15 by week's end. That's pretty darn good. Now, by SEC standards, you still got to climb, but this Florida class is really starting to come together for the Gators. Mizell, 6'2", 180 pounds, turned 47 receptions into over 1,000 yards and 18 touchdowns as a breakout junior. He's electric, one of the fastest receivers in the country with 10.6 speed. Jackson's played a lot of receiver on the high school level too. He's got natural ball skills. He's going to play corner. Florida's invested a lot of time in him. They went and watched him work out in the spring. He came back and camped in the summer. He's one of their most coveted targets in this class. I like Florida over Auburn, LSU in that one. And then Jordan Castell is a 4-star safety with the traits to really blossom on the back end. He's got some cover ability there. He's a guy that also has all the traits to be a difference maker in the secondary. Florida's a finalist for a couple other guys announcing. You have John Walker, who is Jackson's teammate there at Osceola High. My crystal ball is actually on UCF for John Walker, Gus Malzahn and his program on the move to the Big 12. John Walker is one of the most disruptive defensive linemen in the country, 33 tackles for loss over the last 2 seasons, 28 sacks, took official visits to Michigan, Ohio State, UCF, and Florida. I think this one's coming down to UCF and Ohio State. And I like where UCF stands for John Walker, proximity to home. Again, the move to the Big 12. UCF's coaching staff is really getting after it and building good relationships on the trail. They already have a commitment from 2 4-star linebackers in the Twins, Andrew Harris and Michael Harris out of Lake Brantley. And now I think that they're going to get a people mover in front of them and John Walker, who's committing later this week. And then Derek LeBlanc is a top 247 defensive lineman, also from Osceola, who's going to commit this week. I think that this one has been in Oklahoma's favor for a while. My crystal ball is now on the Sooners, joining so many of my colleagues. But I don't think that Florida is going to go away on either D lineman for the rest of the cycle. But Oklahoma, as we started the show, number 8 class in the country, looking to add the number 64 overall player in the country, Derek LeBlanc, to the fold. Be another big coup for Coach Brent Venables and company, as again, they are recruiting at a terrific level for a first-year staff, arguably the best of any first-year staff in the country, although Mario Cristobal in Miami, continue to keep your eye on them as they are recruiting at an exciting level and perhaps when all said and done, will hold that highest ranked spot of new coaching staffs here in 2023. Well, guys, I think that's a wrap, man. I think we can look forward to talking about a big recruiting weekend at Georgia on Thursday. Maybe recapping what happened at Notre Dame. The number 1 receiver in 2024, Ryan Wingo's on campus. His dad's name's Ronnie. But Notre Dame, maybe they make a move with a couple guys on Tuesday. But I'm sure we'll have a lot to unpack. Caleb Downs' commitment, and look forward to getting with y'all on the next Wiltfong's Whiparound, which you can catch on the 24/7 Sports platforms, including hopefully this YouTube channel you're walking from. So hit that like button. Take care. Have a great rest of your Tuesday night.